Well, here they are. Is the batteries. This is the XGT cutter I got, 2.5 amp, 40 volt, and I bought two of these from ITS. They've arrived now, and it's good to have those spare ones. I had two before, but the one is just something to do with the memory, and it's just not charging at all, which is really annoying because these are nearly £90 a pop. So there you go. They're here, so I've got a spare one. Let's just hope. I wonder if any of you out there know of anything with Makita about batteries and about guarantees and that sort of thing, like, you know, if they don't, or do I need to fill a form out, or is it the same as your drill with your guarantee or not? Because it's a lot of money for a battery, but it is a good little cutter. But the only thing I find with it is that the dust gets between these, and just trying to clean them out. If anybody got any advice on how to keep these clean, I've been brushing them and sort of trying to blow it off like that. It's a worry when you spend that sort of money on a battery. £90 a time. So first thing first is we marked those little cuts. They haven't dropped with the rain. I thought the other day when we put them in, we left it was raining, but they stayed in place on there. So it's 5 of them, and then this edge will be complete. The picture frame in along here today, which you should get done, and eventually get into this corner, which we've got a couple of those cuts done for there, and the picture frame along here, and start this manhole. Got a couple of cuts there ready to go. Well, here it is again. Oh god, and we've left the cutter out as well. Look at it, absolutely pouring down. I'm sat in the digger at the moment, and I was just doing those final cuts, and it's chucking it down. And this is what contractors have to put up with across the country, day in, day out. It's not a good thing. And in Ireland, they have even more rain out there. I think it's average 117 days a year in the UK, and it's over 250 in Ireland. And it's the summer. Good morning, it's me, it's Johnny Boy. It's Friday, it's the end of the week. Let me show you what we got. Well, here we are. This is the edge of the patio. It's probably come a little bit further than what I expected, but I've done that because it's just to maximize the area really. But we've got to put a small step along here. So what we're doing now, you can see what we're doing is we're making a mess. Yeah, we are making a mess, but we're making a mess, and so the step's going to go roughly there where Dan's feet is, over there, and we've got to clean this back because we've got to have a void along there, like a French drain, to allow the water to run away. We've got a bit of water in here now simply because it was biblical weather yesterday. I mean biblical. It seems insane that we're actually washing water back down in there again now. But what we don't want is, when we do the concrete in, we don't want any contaminants, and the contaminants being all that mud going into the concrete, so it's no good. So you want a good solid elevation of concrete, not filled with mud that's just going to evaporate eventually and make it just weaker. Yeah, somebody's been eating the strawberries. This has to be probably my favourite part of the garden. This is where the log store is. We've got the veg boxes, and it's just a great place just to take 5 just for a moment and just chill. It's me, it's Johnny Boy. Apparently saying your name at the start of the video isn't a good thing, but it's me, it's Johnny Boy. So here I am. What we're going to do, and it is me. So we've got the foundation in along here. We've got this little channel as well. So we've got to have a small step that we're going to build in this part here to get access to this lawn. So what we're going to do this morning, we've got a mix on. It's going to stay dry though, it's cloudy. We're going to get some block work along here so we can start that can start going off. And probably today, Dan, what we're going to do on the ruby, we're going to cut the risers, the face that we're going to stick to the face of that block work. And then we're going to have, hopefully, I think we're going to go for it, we're going to go for a Brazilian black tread, a step on top, 3 cm, a lot more thicker with the bull nose as well. And that bull nose effect, I don't know what it is, but it just makes it, accentuates the round and the curve that we've created in the patio, and it just blends in perfect. But what we're going to have to do, we're going to have to cut the bull nose. They come in about a metre, roughly about a metre. Can't remember, I've used them so many times. Approximately about a metre, and we're probably going to cut them at 300. We'll probably get 3 out, so we have a nice curve coming around. You can see the curve on there there's more of a bend on there, and it starts to shallow as it comes over onto this side. On this side, the ground drops away, and we don't want to be taking the step all the way, so we have to think about what we're going to have as a contrast, maybe a small brick in the porcelain that's going to run along that side. That's enough of that. Time for a cup of tea. Well, what we have here, we've got a string line from this point over here. If you look over here, there's a string line here. From that point, that's our patio level there. And we've got a point up that side there. You'll be able to see. Stay there. I'll pull the wheelbarrow out with it. So the level on this side represents the finished level over here. We should explain that again, just in case you never heard me. So on that side, we've got the pin set up with the string line to represent the level of the patio there. And then on that side, you can see a pin there with a string line. Can you just zoom in on that bit there? You can just see the string line with the pin. That represents our finished level. So what we're going to do now is, now we're starting to put some pins around the outer edge of this yellow mark here. For instance here, because what we don't want, when we look at this patio, this path coming around, we don't want it doing this. We want it nice and flat from A to B. So all we're going to do now, it's very simple. We'll take the level now. We haven't got a laser level with us. This is the reason we're doing this now. Should have brought that pin a little bit further. But all we're going to do, we're going to transfer that level of what that string line is from there across to here, mark it there, and then once we've got that mark, we'll be able to put a string line in, and we're going to use some tape, and the tape will represent the finished level. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put our spirit level. We could put it underneath. In fact, we will. I was going to rest it on here, but cameraman over there who's very, very busy being a cameraman. So now let's put that on here. That string line is nice and taut. So there we go. So there we are. Bring that round now. What level we got there now. So the top of the level represents finished level of our paving. So let's bring that up a little bit there. There you go. So the bottom of the tape there now will represent our finished level. So bottom of the tape there now, we know exactly where we are. That's going to be finished level. We know from A to B that's nice and straight. And what you're not going to have is hoping that you can just run through with a level and with a long level and you hope to hit what you're aiming for, hit the target. So now we know we're going to hit the target because we'll have a given point with the rest of these pins that are running down here now. Okay, you can just see now we're just we can pack that up a little bit there, just to get, there we are, on the, just touching the string line, just stroking it there, and a little bit down there, but we can bring that up now. We can allow for that. Bring our tape across. So bottom of the tape represents the finished level. There you go. You can see now we're nice and level now. Bring that up here. There you are. Perfect. So the bottom of this tape in this case represents again the finished level, and it gives us an idea how far we bring our stone up to when we're compacting and leveling off. There we go. Now, what we can do, this is our line from A to B. Now we can take this line, and remember I said the bottom. What you can do with this, you can sometimes hold it on there, and you can tie it off. But all we have to do in this case is go around like that, and we're away. There we are. That line represents finished level of our path that we're going to be putting in. And again on here, just another way of doing it. There you go, nice and tight. Same as this one. There we go. Wrap that one round. There we go. Now, what we can do, we can pull that across so it touches it. There we go. Wrap it around, wrap it around once, like that. There you go. There's different sorts of ties or hitches you can put in, but this just makes it a little bit more simple. There we are. Nice and tight. That'll do. Now, we know that's flat right the way through. Maybe a couple of mil, but there is acceptable tolerances, and that's one. I get asked on a regular basis, how do you showcase your work? Well, there's many ways of showcasing your work. You can actually put it on Instagram and all the social media channels and Facebook and everything. But what do you use to showcase it? Do you use your phone to take the pictures? That's that little dog here. It's great to hear. I'll start again. Do you use your phone? Do you take pictures? You know, you see all too often too many before shots, you know, and jobs during the process. People don't necessarily want to see it. They want to see how a job turns out. So we haven't quite finished yet, but I'm going to demonstrate to you another means of showcasing your work. So now we're going to give you an update on where we are with this project from a different angle. Yeah. So we did a quick drone shots. Drone shots are good because it can actually showcase your work in such a way that your client, your potential client, can have an appreciation from a different view. seeing those shapes, seeing the patio, seeing how it comes on. So if you can afford a drone shot, I recommend this is the way forward, because it's just going to generate loads and loads of confidence for you and your customer. Well, if you come over here, Dan, just show along here. We put these blocks in yesterday. This is for our first step, okay? This is for our first step. So what we got to do now, the riser, the face of it, is going to be in these, okay? Then on top, we're putting a Brazilian black slate with the ball nose, as I've said. But what we've got to try and do now, first thing this morning, I'm just going to clean that edge up. It'll come off, it'll be quite easy because it was only laid yesterday. And then what we're going to do, we're going to find the heights. We know that the foundation is flat, okay, but we can measure the height of it and see what we're going to work to. So there's a little bit of play in here, but we're going to stick this with the Map-I rapid set, not fast set. There's a rapid set, so it'll get hold of it quite quick. So we're going to get on with that now. There we are. That bit's done now. That's the riser on the face for the step for this patio. Here we are. There's our line going through. We laid our first slab yesterday to that line, so that's absolutely perfect. And now we're going to start laying these slabs all the way around. But all we have to do, it sounds simple, just have to bend them up because we've got the right angle on the cut going through. So if that makes sense. Well, if you look here, we're looking at the mortars here that we've mixed up now. This is absolutely perfect, absolutely perfect. But that one there, there's a little bit too much water in that, and you don't want too much water in your mortar simply because it's not a compressive product. It doesn't compress and then it evaporates. So we're going to take a little bit of that out and we're going to replace it with this now. So we've just got to get our mixes just right. It's difficult to get the mix using a screen mix unless you mix it by hand, because in a mixer you get a thing called segregation where the cement separates from the actual sand and it doesn't mix so well when you're doing a drier mix. But that's just borderline. We've just about done it on there, spent a bit of time on it, but really what you want is one of those forced paddle mixers, but they're just so expensive. Okay, so here we are. This is the Ruby DC Expert, the 1550. So here we are. I want to sort of explain a little bit more about this brush, but before I explain about the brush, I want to tell you what the Python does. The Python, this is where the water comes down, and people don't realise is that what happens is that when the water suppresses the dust, and it does this in a droplet, okay, and those droplets, it's absolutely fine when it's in the droplets, but when it hits a hard surface, the dust is once again is released, okay? We got to think of it as being a molecule, not just a droplet, because this has many parts. So when the droplet hits a hard surface, the dust is released again. But what they've done, Ruby have developed this brush system, and basically they developed it for the Dutch market. The Dutch authorities are very keen to bring awareness about health and safety and how dust can be detrimental to a human being. So what happens is that when the water comes around and starts splashing around, okay, off the blade and hitting the surface, the dust is released. But if the droplet hits these brushes, these individual strands, it remains, and I believe, in a water droplet, and basically the droplet then drops down into the reservoir, goes back into the water itself, and the dust basically is neutralized. It's as simple as that. That's the only way you can actually think of it. But this is an added feature to ensure that our health is maintained. And I think what people don't realize is that these machines are definitely game changers. And I've said this before, I want to be around for another few years to be with my grandson and my family. And there's so many guys are using angle grinders, using disc cutters, and even disc cutters with water suppressants, that even when as I explained, when the water droplets hit a hard surface, and that's when the dust is released again, and it just gets a mess. But what you're doing is they're looking at everything, every potential problem that could be caused by dust, and they're keeping it all within the machine. And remember, you can use this in a 15 cubic meter capacity room for 3 hours. I think 1 hour cutting porcelain and 3 hours for cutting sandstone. But anyway, if Ruby has anything to say on this and clarify a few of the things that I've actually spoke about, I'd welcome your comments below. There we go, trying to bring you a little bit more and trying to help the landscaping community. And if you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the notification button and subscribe. Have a great day. There we are. Got some slurry going on the top of the wall. This will ensure that our mortar sticks to that top of that wall correctly. So, I can't keep bringing you time lapse because I keep forgetting. And they do my head in, to be honest. But I'll do it for you anyway. But look what we've got here. We've got a semi-dry concrete bed. We've dampened it off and it's nice and smooth now, see, like that. And now what we're using a semi-dry screed mix on here, like so. And then these little units that we've cut up, Dan slurried the backs of them, loads of slurry on the back, piles of it, that's what you want. And then you're gonna make a mess of it. And then just push it down. If it's going down too easy, then you can just put a little bit in with a trowel, I might add, not my finger. Not that I ever use my hands, my fingers. And then just place that one on there like so. Push it firmly in place. And what we can do is a level end. You can just follow that through on there. Make sure there's nothing underneath. There we go, nice and flat. You can even give your level a little bit of a tap. It ain't gonna matter that much because that's not gonna damage it. Just tapping it down like that. So, and then you can just pull back like so. Make sure the edge of your tile is compacted underneath. And it's all right using your finger. You're gonna wash them off in a minute anyway. Or you can use a trowel like this. Somebody's gonna say something. What you've got to try and make sure that that is not falling back, because otherwise what's gonna happen, the water's gonna hold on the edge, and it is at the moment. It's not quite the way I want it to go, so I can cut that down a little bit on here now, like that. And remember, some of these paving units that we're using are going to crown in places. They're going to have higher points, so you've got to take in consideration that. So there's an acceptable tolerance that you can work with. But on there now, that's just about right. Just have it just falling away a little bit. And then we're ready for our next one, all slurried, ready to go. So there we are, the brick edge is in, and that was just, we didn't plan on that. Well, we did. I knew we were going to put something in along there. But on top of the wall, we don't want too much going around there with the brick edge because we've got a big tread going across it all the way around. But that is really coming together now, really coming together. People's thinking that I'm taking a bit of a time with this, but I am, because it's about, I think it's about perfection. But the other thing we've been doing as well, we've been working over this way, putting this path in and prepping up this area over here. So these are all like additional bits and pieces. The path wasn't, the path was all part of it, the original quote, but then we've got all this other bit to do. So the path's going to come up here and go head towards that sheet and then sweep round to where the wheelbarrows is. But the in front of the summer room, the garden room, we have to put some extra paving in, and we can lay this in a right angle to this meandering path. It just takes time cutting this porcelain. Look at the path, I love it. Getting to this part of the garden was very satisfying. You know, at this point, when you look back at the patio, that the garden is now eventually coming together, and it's a real good feeling. I did notice here that a couple of these brick edges need to be ground down to the correct size. There's only a couple though.